Today, I want to talk about something that defines the difference between success and failure, between resilience and surrender. Mental strength. Life is unpredictable, full of obstacles and setbacks. The secret to overcoming these challenges isn't luck or talent. It's the ability to be mentally strong. Of course. Here's the expanded segment written in a style that aligns with the overall speech and maintains a natural flow. Your mind is the battleground where every challenge is won or lost. It's not the external world that defines your success or failure. It's how you interpret, process, and respond to it. The greatest limitation a person faces is not their circumstances, not their background, not even their abilities, but their own thoughts. The way you frame reality, the narrative you construct about yourself and the world around you, determines whether you stand tall in the face of adversity or collapse under its weight. Consider the stories people tell themselves. Some wake up each day convinced that they are doomed to fail, that life has conspired against them, that no matter what they do, they will never rise above their situation. Others, despite experiencing the very same hardships, tell themselves a different story. They see struggles not as barriers, but as challenges that demand growth. They understand that their perception of difficulty changes its very nature. If you see an obstacle as an insurmountable wall, you will never try to climb it. If you see it as a puzzle waiting to be solved, you will work at it until you find a way through. This is the essence of mental strength. It is not about blind optimism, pretending that everything is fine when it isn't. That is delusion, not strength. True mental resilience comes from a deep understanding that no matter how difficult life gets, there is always a way forward. That the mind, if disciplined, can become an ally rather than an enemy. It's about choosing your response to adversity with intention, rather than letting your circumstances dictate your beliefs and actions. But here's the problem. Most people don't even realize they are trapped in their own minds. They have allowed their thinking patterns to be shaped by fear, by past failures, by the expectations of others. They live with an internal voice that constantly whispers, "You can't. You're not good enough. What's the point in trying?" This voice is a liar. It's a collection of experiences, doubts, and insecurities masquerading as truth. And unless you confront it, unless you actively rewire your thought processes, it will dictate the course of your life. Mental strength requires a shift, a deliberate restructuring of the way you think. When challenges arise, instead of defaulting to self-doubt or despair, you must train yourself to ask a different question. How can I use this? What lesson is hidden here? What part of me needs to develop to overcome this? These are not empty motivational slogans. This is a practical approach to rewiring the brain, to forcing it to engage with problems in a way that leads to solutions rather than paralysis. The ability to control your mindset starts with awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts. Observe them as they arise and question their validity. Are they pushing you toward growth? Or are they holding you back? Most people never stop to examine their own thinking, and so they remain prisoners of it. But once you begin to challenge those automatic patterns, once you replace them with intentional, constructive thoughts, you begin to take control of your reality. And make no mistake, this is not an easy process. It requires effort, discipline, and consistency. You will not wake up one day and suddenly be free of doubt, fear, or insecurity. Mental strength is not something that happens to you. It is something you build. It's forged through repeated exposure to difficulty, through pushing yourself beyond what feels comfortable, through refusing to indulge in the luxury of self-pity. Every time you choose to frame a setback as an opportunity, you are training your mind to be resilient. Every time you resist the temptation to wallow in negativity and instead focus on what can be done, you are strengthening your mental fortitude. And over time, this discipline compounds. Just like muscles grow stronger with resistance, the mind becomes sharper and more resilient when it is consistently challenged and refined. You are not at the mercy of your circumstances. You are at the mercy of your own thinking. Train your mind, and you will train your life. Emotions are powerful. They can propel you forward or hold you hostage. They can fuel your greatest triumphs or drag you into the depths of despair. And the difference between those two outcomes has nothing to do with whether you feel fear, anger, sadness, or frustration. It has everything to do with whether you control those emotions or let them control you. People often mistake mental strength for emotional suppression. They assume that being strong means never feeling anxious, never getting upset, never experiencing self-doubt. That's nonsense. You don't become strong by pretending emotions don't exist. You become strong by learning to navigate them, to acknowledge them without becoming enslaved by them, to experience them fully without allowing them to dictate your actions. Think about how most people react to difficult emotions. When they feel anger, they lash out. When they feel fear, they retreat. When they feel sadness, they let it consume them. They assume that whatever they feel must be an accurate representation of reality. If they feel hopeless, life must be hopeless. If they feel worthless, they must be worthless. And that is a dangerous trap, because emotions are not reality. They are reactions, automatic, instinctive responses to situations shaped by past experiences, current circumstances, and even the chemistry of your body in that particular moment. That's why two people can go through the exact same situation and have completely different emotional responses. One faces rejection and sees it as proof of their inadequacy, while the other sees it as a challenge to improve and try again. One person experiences failure and sinks into despair, while another uses that failure as fuel to refine their approach. The difference isn't the situation, it's the ability to process emotion without letting it dictate behavior. When life tests you, and it will, how do you respond? Do you shrink from the challenge, or do you rise to meet it? Life isn't fair, it isn't always kind, and it certainly doesn't guarantee success. But what it does offer, time and time again, is opportunity. Every challenge, no matter how daunting, contains within it a chance for you to grow. And this is the secret. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It's forged through adversity. Look at the most successful people in the world, the ones who've made an impact, the ones who've built something meaningful. What they all have in common isn't an absence of failure or hardship. No, they've all faced challenges that seemed insurmountable at the time. What sets them apart is their response to these challenges. They didn't retreat. They didn't collapse in the face of adversity. They confronted their struggles with resilience, determination, and the mindset that setbacks are simply part of the journey. The biggest mistake people make is seeing failure as the end of the road. It's the natural human inclination. We fail, and then we feel as though we've been defeated. It's easy to assume that when things don't go according to plan, that's the universe telling us to stop, to give up. But this couldn't be further from the truth. Failure is not defeat. It is simply a lesson, a necessary part of the learning process. The greatest achievements are often preceded by the greatest failures. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't whether they fail, it's whether they allow failure to stop them. When you encounter obstacles, you have a choice. You can either give in to frustration, disappointment, or fear, or you can use those emotions as fuel. You can take the energy that comes from failure, from pain, and channel it into your growth. You can analyze what went wrong, adjust your approach, and keep moving forward. This is where true mental strength lies, in your ability to keep going. It's crucial to understand that life's difficulties don't come at random, and they're not there to punish you, they come to challenge you, to make you stronger. Each obstacle you face is an opportunity to prove to yourself that you are capable, that you can withstand hardship, that you can adapt. And as you continue to face these challenges and persevere, you develop a resilience that becomes the foundation for your future success. Resilience isn't about never feeling pain or difficulty. It's about choosing to keep going. It's about getting knocked down, then getting back up and asking, what can I learn from this? How can I improve? How can I do better next time? And it's this very process, this constant cycle of learning and growing, that builds the mental fortitude necessary to face even greater challenges. Consider athletes who train their bodies to perform at peak levels. The process is grueling, filled with setbacks, injuries, and frustrations. But each time they push through a limitation, their strength increases. The same applies to the mind. Every time you face an obstacle and push through it, no matter how small, you build your mental muscle. Over time, this resilience becomes ingrained in who you are, and you start to see every challenge not as an enemy to be feared, but as an ally in your pursuit of growth. This is why the most successful people are not those who've lived lives free from pain or adversity. They are those who've learned to use adversity as a springboard for growth. The hardships they've encountered have sculpted them into the people they are today. And the same is true for you. Each difficulty you encounter is not a setback, but a lesson in disguise, a chance to refine your character and fortify your mind. So don't shy away from challenges. Don't look for the easiest path. Seek out obstacles. Welcome them, because they are the forge in which your strength will be tested and shaped. You will learn more from your failures than your successes, and you will grow stronger each time you rise from a fall. The road to greatness is not smooth, but it is through the bumps and the bruises that you learn to navigate it. Every challenge you face, every failure you endure is an opportunity to grow, not only in skill, but in character, in resilience, and in the understanding that you are capable of far more than you ever imagined. You can always become better, stronger, more resilient than you were yesterday. Just remember, growth never comes from comfort. It comes from pushing through the discomfort, from facing the struggle head on and refusing to quit. That is the true path to strength. Discipline is the foundation of strength. It's not motivation, not inspiration, not fleeting moments of excitement about a goal. It's discipline. The ability to do what must be done regardless of how you feel in the moment is what separates those who succeed from those who falter. People wait for motivation, but motivation is unreliable. It's like the weather. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it isn't. And if you rely on it, you'll never build anything worthwhile. Discipline, however, is within your control. It is the habit of showing up day after day and doing the work, even when you don't feel like it. Most people misunderstand discipline. They see it as something rigid, something that limits freedom, but that's the opposite of the truth. Discipline doesn't trap you, it liberates you. It frees you from the chaos of inconsistency, from the tyranny of your shifting emotions, from the endless cycle of procrastination and regret. Without discipline, you are a slave to impulse. You do what's easy, what's comfortable, what brings immediate pleasure, even when it leads to long-term suffering. With discipline, you gain control over yourself, and with that control comes power. Look at the patterns of your life. How often do you set goals and then abandon them at the first sign of difficulty? How many times have you told yourself you'll start tomorrow, next week, next year? How often have you allowed distractions to pull you away from what truly matters? That is the cost of undisciplined living. It breeds inconsistency, and inconsistency leads to stagnation. The people who achieve great things, whether in business, in their personal lives, in their health, in their relationships, are not necessarily the most talented or the most intelligent. They are the ones who are relentless. They do the work when they don't feel like it. They push forward when it's hard, when it's boring, when no one is watching. Discipline is what gets you through the days when nothing seems to be going right. It's what keeps you moving forward when every part of you wants to quit. It's waking up early to train when it's cold, writing when the words aren't flowing, studying when you'd rather relax, making the difficult decision when the easy one is more appealing. It's the ability to delay gratification, to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term success. That is the mark of a strong mind. The problem is, modern life encourages weakness. It offers endless distractions, easy entertainment, instant gratification. It rewards indulgence and punishes restraint. We are constantly tempted to take the easy road, to avoid struggle, to numb discomfort with mindless consumption. But the easy road leads nowhere. It is discipline that builds character, that develops resilience, that forges a mind capable of withstanding life's inevitable hardships. The truth is, no one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you the life you want. If you want strength, you must build it. If you want success, you must earn it. And that requires a level of discipline that most people are unwilling to cultivate. But that is precisely why it's so powerful. Because discipline is rare, and anything that is rare is valuable. If you can master it, you set yourself apart. You gain an edge in every area of life. It starts with small choices. Waking up on time, sticking to your commitments, controlling your impulses, doing the hard thing when the easy thing is available. Each time you make a disciplined choice, you reinforce the identity of a person who is in control. And the more you do it, the stronger that identity becomes. Over time, discipline is no longer something you force upon yourself. It becomes who you are. But be warned, discipline is not something you develop once and then keep forever. It must be maintained, sharpened, practiced daily. It's like a muscle. If you don't use it, it atrophies. The moment you allow excuses to creep in, the moment you let yourself off the hook, you begin to weaken it. That is why it must become a way of life, not an occasional effort. There will be days when it feels unbearable, when the weight of discipline feels too heavy, when you wonder if it's worth it. And in those moments, remember this: discipline is the price of freedom. The freedom to shape your life on your terms. The freedom to rise above mediocrity. The freedom to become the person you were meant to be. That freedom is earned, and it is earned through discipline. No one else can do this for you. It is yours and yours alone. And the question is not whether you are capable of it. You are. The question is whether you will choose it. There is a tremendous amount of suffering in life, and much of it comes from trying to control things that are not within your power. People waste years of their lives, sometimes their entire existence, tormented by situations that are completely beyond their control, fixating on the past, agonizing over other people's actions, raging against circumstances they cannot change. And in doing so, they surrender their own power. Because the more you focus on what you cannot control, the weaker you become. The more you fixate on external forces, the less responsibility you take for your own life. The truth is, control is an illusion, at least in the way most people understand it. You cannot control the weather, you cannot control the economy, you cannot control what other people think of you, how they behave, or whether they treat you fairly. You cannot control the past, you cannot even control what random events might unfold in the future. If your happiness, your stability, your sense of self-worth depends on controlling these things, you will always be at their mercy. You will live in a constant state of frustration, resentment, and disappointment because the world will never bend itself perfectly to your desires. But there is something you can control, something so powerful that if you master it, you become virtually unstoppable. You can control yourself, your mind, your responses, your actions. You can control how you interpret events, how you process setbacks, how you choose to move forward despite them. And that is enough. Because when you stop trying to control what is beyond you and start taking full responsibility for what is within you, your entire perspective shifts. You stop feeling helpless because you are no longer placing your fate in the hands of things outside your influence. You become the master of your own life. Most people never reach this realization. They spend their days blaming society, blaming their parents, blaming their boss, their government, their childhood, their genetics, their luck. And maybe they're right. Maybe life has been unfair to them. Maybe they have been dealt a worse hand than others. But none of that changes the fact that blaming external forces accomplishes absolutely nothing. It does not improve their situation. It does not move them forward. It only keeps them stuck, angry, bitter, waiting for the world to fix itself instead of doing what they can do to build something better. There is a profound strength in letting go of what you cannot control. It is not weakness, it is not passivity, it is the opposite. It is the willingness to accept the reality of your situation, to recognize your own limitations, and then focus entirely on what you can do instead of wasting energy on what you can't. And that shift is where personal power is found. You have control over how you spend your time. You have control over your habits. You have control over the effort you put in, the discipline you cultivate, the skills you develop. You have control over the way you speak to yourself, the way you frame your failures, the way you pick yourself up when things fall apart. That is where your strength is. That is what you must master. When you fully embrace this, something remarkable happens. You stop being so easily rattled by what life throws at you. You stop being controlled by the opinions of others because you realize they are not within your power to change. You stop feeling crippled by fear of failure because failure itself is something you can learn from and adapt to. You stop resenting things that are outside your grasp and start focusing with absolute precision on the things that are within your grasp. And suddenly you start making progress because all that mental energy you once wasted on worry, on anger, on regret, it is now being funneled into action. You stop waiting for perfect conditions, for ideal circumstances, for external validation. You take responsibility for what is yours to change, and you let go of the rest. And that is where real strength lies. Not in controlling the world, but in controlling yourself. So ask yourself, how much time have you wasted dwelling on things that are outside your control? How much energy have you spent replaying the past, obsessing over what people think, wishing life had unfolded differently? And now, imagine if all that time, all that energy, had been directed toward something productive, toward your own development, toward learning, toward action. Imagine how much progress you could have made by now. You cannot change the past, you cannot change other people, you cannot predict or dictate the future, but you can decide how you will respond to all of it. You can choose to take ownership of your life, to focus on what is within your power, to let go of the rest. And when you do that, when you truly accept that responsibility, you will find a kind of strength you never knew you had. The people you surround yourself with shape you in ways you cannot always see. They influence how you think, how you behave, and what you believe is possible for your own life. Human beings are deeply social creatures, wired to adapt to their environments. And that means if you surround yourself with people who are weak, negative, bitter, or complacent, you will inevitably absorb those traits. Even if you don't realize it, you will find yourself thinking in smaller ways, making excuses for failure, lowering your standards without even noticing that you've done so. But the reverse is also true. If you surround yourself with people who are strong, disciplined, ambitious, people who push themselves to be better, you will be forced to rise to that level. You will absorb their mindset, their habits, their approach to challenges. You will begin to expect more from yourself because you are constantly exposed to a higher standard of living. And this is why the people you allow into your life matter more than almost anything else when it comes to building strength, both mentally and physically. Many people make the mistake of thinking they can stay strong while keeping weak company. They believe they can be the exception, that they can remain unaffected by the negative influences around them. But that's not how human nature works. We are constantly influenced by the attitudes and behaviors of those closest to us. If you spend your time with people who complain, who blame others for their problems, who avoid responsibility, then slowly, almost imperceptibly, you will start doing the same. It will become your default way of thinking. And before you know it, you'll look back and wonder why you never achieved what you were capable of. This is why you must choose your company carefully. Be around people who challenge you, people who expect something of you, people who hold themselves to high standards, and by extension, hold you to those same standards. If you are the strongest, smartest, or most disciplined person in your circle, then you are in the wrong circle. Because you are not growing, you are comfortable. And comfort is the enemy of strength. It is not enough to simply remove negative influences. You must actively seek out those who inspire and challenge you. Find people who make you uncomfortable in the best way possible. People who force you to level up, to take responsibility, to stop making excuses. Spend time with those who work harder than you, who think bigger than you, who refuse to settle for mediocrity. It will be difficult at first, because growth is always uncomfortable. But discomfort is a sign that you are moving in the right direction. At the same time, it is not just about who you surround yourself with externally, but also who you allow to take up space in your mind, the books you read, the ideas you consume, the conversations you engage in. All of these things shape you just as much as the people in your physical environment. If you fill your mind with negativity, with meaningless distractions, with cheap entertainment that requires no thought or effort, then do not be surprised when your life reflects that same level of shallowness. But if you seek out knowledge, if you engage with ideas that challenge and stretch your thinking, if you expose yourself to the minds of those who have achieved great things, then you will begin to think differently. You will begin to see new possibilities for yourself. Some people will resist this. When you start changing, when you begin to demand more from yourself, when you stop tolerating weakness and mediocrity, there will be those who try to pull you back, not because they hate you, but because your growth is a threat to their complacency. If you improve, it forces them to confront the reality that they too could be better, but they are choosing not to be. And that is an uncomfortable truth to face. Many would rather keep you at their level than rise to meet you at yours. But you cannot allow that to stop you. You cannot shrink yourself to make others comfortable. If the people around you do not support your growth, if they do not encourage your discipline, your strength, your ambition, then you must be willing to walk away. It is not cruelty, it is necessity. Because your future depends on the environment you create for yourself. And that environment is determined in large part by the people you allow into your life. So look carefully at the company you keep. Ask yourself whether they are lifting you up or holding you back, whether they inspire you to be better or encourage you to stay the same. And if you find that your current circle is keeping you from reaching your potential, then have the courage to seek out those who will help you. Surround yourself with people who make you stronger, who demand more of you, who refuse to let you settle, because in the end you will rise or you will fall to the level of those around you. Choose wisely.